Right, we are recording. So, welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast, Nicky Spinks.
Thank you. Good to be here.
What are you drinking? Is it tea? Is it fruit tea or is it normal tea?
It's actually hot Ribena.
Oh, hot rabbit. Okay. That's um
Yeah.
that's something I've not had in a while since I was a kid. Hot Ribena, yeah. And my nan used to make something called blackberry vinegar, which was like some kind of like blackberry syrup that was vinegary that we used to have when we were kids when we got colds, and you mix it with hot water, and it's like a herbal remedy that I don't know whether it works. We seem to like it. I think because it was full of sugar, we enjoyed.
Yeah. 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 Ribena is, isn't it? Especially
um,
the full sugar version. But I don't have it very strong.
well, us ultra runners, we need our sugar, don't we, at times? No, I've just been talking to somebody actually about trying to cut out sugar again because after the spine race, um, in the lead up to it, I sort of ate what I wanted to really, and then obviously during anything goes, and then afterwards, these last 2 weeks, I've literally eaten anything that is come in front of my face for the last 2 weeks at any time of the day or night. So this week I've decided I need to go cold turkey on sugar and sweet things, and I've cut everything out, and I'm just drinking water tonight. So getting fed up with that already.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough about me and my spine race. How have you been? How are you recovering since the epic race that you had?
Um, yeah, well, because initially it was sleep, obviously. And now I seem to have got over that. It's the little toes still got that blister. Well, it's popped now, the blister. I've lost I've lost two toenails, but I must have actually created that before the spine because it's too soon to actually lose them because of the spine. I don't think I lost any toenails on the spine. It was probably the Cheviot goat actually.
Mm,
Um, when yeah, so doing a race before the spine has its advantages, and then yeah, you do risk having an injury or having toenails loose while you're actually doing the spine.
yeah,
But no, they only came off yesterday, so I'm
yeah.
nearly.
I had I was really worried about blisters because I did the this my listeners or know because I keep going on about it. I did the Summer Challenger North, and I had the worst blisters I've ever had on any race. In fact, in ever in life, I've never had such feet just absolutely destroyed by that race. So I was really worried about going into this race, what it was going to be like. But I knew, I'd heard that it was people's feet are better off in winter because of the cold and your feet don't swell as much. So all I'd got was I got a couple like round my heel, which I didn't think I'd get this time because I'd made my feet really soft. But they were all right; they didn't bother me at all. They just like formed and just didn't get any worse. And the worst one was my little toe on my left foot, which just the whole of my toe just turned into one big blister like a bubble. And my toenail came off, and my toenail was floating around inside this bubble like a goldfish bowl. Much to the amusement and disgust of my two teenage daughters, who but it was horrific. But it didn't pop, so I was worried that through the whole race, I kept taping it up with K tape, and I thought it's going to pop, and it never did. And I left it and didn't touch it, and it slowly went down. All the fluid went out of it, and then this last week I took great joy in like peeling the whole of it off in one go, and then the toenail came off with it. So far I've lost one little toenail. It could always be worse, can't it?
Yeah, yeah,
What's the
yeah.
worst state your feet
No,
have ever been in from a race?
I think that would be the first 100 miler I ever did, Grand Raid Reunion, because I was quite a rookie and my shoes were, well, they didn't, it was hot and I only wore size 6.5 shoes. And I also went through a river halfway through because my feet were too hot. And this French guy I was with was like horrified. And yeah, I know why, because about 2 hours later, I just had blisters all over the place. Um, yeah, the medics injected my feet with something. I think it was local anesthetic because it really hurt.
Really?
But then it just numbed them for about 8 hours. So I finished. Yeah, I just lay down on their couch and they stuck needles in me and taped me up. And I almost fainted when I got off the couch. But yeah, managed to not faint and carry
That-
on.
That's that's something you don't see on the spine, isn't it? Being people being injected. Do you think is that an old remedy to blisters, or do they still do that?
I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Mm.
They all spoke French and I don't speak French, so I wasn't really sure that the doctor said it was going to hurt, but I'd be able to carry on afterwards. And yeah, it did hurt when they were injecting it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they were doing. But I didn't really care. I just wanted to finish the race. But yeah, after that, my feet were they took weeks to, and all the skin came off slowly. Week after week, just more and more skin came off. Um, yeah, it took about 6 weeks for all the skin to just gently peel away
Uh,
from the bottom of my feet. So
well, what a sport, I know. The things that we choose to do for fun.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
recovery wise, then you were sort of are you out running again?
I'd call it a jog. I'm not sure. I tried to this morning. Um, I tried to sort of do some sprints, yeah, short sprints just to get a bit of like faster turnover going. But I haven't really done any, I was going to say distance, any sort of anything more than, well, we went for a couple of walks, but anything more than about 4 miles, 6 miles running. So,
Mm. Yeah, I think
yeah.
I've not had a chance to actually run yet. I've been for a couple of walks, but I've still got this hematoma on my hip where I fell. Got a lump on my side of my hip that's not going anywhere, and it hurts when I twist. So don't think running would be a great idea, but I am going to try and
Mm.
go for one tomorrow. Although all the bruising is gone, I had some very colourful bruising all the way across and into places I never thought that I would get bruises. So it was a interesting injury that's that's lingered.
Where did you
But
do
yeah,
that? Because I,
it was
I had a,
on yeah, it was so for me it was Thursday morning. I'd come out of Alston, and it was that section, that boring section from Alston where you're just going over bogs and fields and stuff. And it was it was a stone wall. Obviously it was like really cold, wasn't it? It was just like that about 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was like super cold. Tired, obviously pitch black. I'd gone over this stone wall and put my feet over the other side of it and was sort of getting my poles out to sort of put my poles down so I could take my next step down, and both of my feet went from underneath me. And I somehow managed to fall. I thought I would have fell backwards, but I actually fell forwards, put my poles out, and my poles hit the ground. Obviously, the ground was like frozen concrete. My left pole just snapped in two, and I fell sideways and landed on my hip and I hit my head. So I thought I just hit my head, and it wasn't until I got to Greenhead that I looked, pulled my t-shirt up and I had a look and saw this, this giant lump on my hip that had gone purple already. So I think I was knocked. So I think that we think I was knocked out possibly for 30 seconds, maybe a minute. But there was a guy, ASOC, one of the Gurkhas who was running. He was behind me. Um, we're not sure how far because I'd been with him and then I'd overtaken him and left him walking and I was jogging. So I'm not sure whether it was sort of 30 seconds or a couple of minutes I might have been knocked out. But basically, all I remember is hitting my head, seeing the grass with my head torch lighting it up, and then he was picking me up and pulling me up, and I couldn't stand up, kept falling over again on my left side. And that was, yeah. So then I just sort of he gave me one of his spare poles, and we trotted then to. I ran a little bit towards Greenhead the last couple of hours, and then SST kept me there, and then the medic told me that my race was over and I had to retire, which I wasn't very pleased about. So I questioned it and said, if you're going to put me out of the race, you need to send a medic to me to assess me rather than doing it over the phone. So they did. And I think, fortunately for me, it was hours and hours before they turned up. And by that time, I was feeling fine anyway. And the medic just said, well, it's been 8 hours. You've got no signs of concussion. It's up to you whether you continue. So I was like, yep, that's it. I'm off. So carried on. So a bit frustrating because I wasted, was in there from 10 in the
Mm,
morning till 3 in the afternoon. So I wasted a load of hours sort of sat around not doing anything. But I suppose I was in the warm and I was eating food and recovering from what had happened. So in a way, I was, it's frustrating to be held back, but
yeah.
at the same time, I was ready to run again, and I was fine all the way until the end, and then just went to A&E on the Monday and just had it checked out, and they just said, oh, it's just the bruising, it's just the blood draining away from the lump. You'll live. Stop being a wuss. So that was pretty much my spine race. Very eventful. How did you get on it? Because this was, I know you're really a really experienced runner, but this was your full winter spine, wasn't it? Your first one.
Yeah,
How did you?
yeah. So it was daunting going into it, really, even though I know I've done the distance and um yeah, longer on my feet, longer without sleep. But it's the difference with the spine is that the checkpoints are sort of spread out a bit more randomly. So, on the Tour de Géants, you got it was every sort of 10 hours and that was it. So you just got a set sort of 10 hours and you've got interim ones as well. So that it does throw, an extra sort of dimension that you've got one after 46 miles and then you've got 67 miles. I know you've got the interim, well, one interim one, but yeah,
A
you
long way,
can't.
isn't it? That's the second
Yeah,
section way.
yeah.
Mm.
When I supported on the summer spine, I realized that, for people to get to hard raw, which was the checkpoint, then it's a big thing. And when they got there, I was surprised that even like the front runners stopped for quite a while because they've just been, and that, well, in summer, but it wasn't that easy in summer because you got the thunderstorms. I mean, the front runners, I think they were through us before the thunderstorms came in, but well, you set off in a thunderstorm, didn't you?
Mm.
So, people might think, oh, I'm able to sleep easier outside in summer, but I don't think that was the
No,
case.
no, no, not at all.
um, yeah, so I realized that getting to hard raw was actually quite a huge achievement in itself. And after that, the checkpoints, there's a big gap between Bellingham and the finish. You've got Burness, but even a big gap between Burness and the finish. But yeah, after actually hard raw, after Hawes, the checkpoints are a bit more consistent. There's actually, more of them. And I think also that, like, early on, like you said about that section, Greenhead section, you don't feel like you're really getting anywhere on that section. Plus, I know psychologically you're not really looking at the map, but you're actually on Hadrian's Wall. You're not going north at all. You're just going,
You're going across, yeah.
yeah, you're just going east, aren't you? And then you go north and then you go west. So it's not, whereas you get a bit higher, on the sections where you're going north and you've got big sections without all those field styles to haul yourself over. At least it's quite motivating to feel that you're getting somewhere. So yeah, it was quite a different challenge doing the spine. And then, so for me, I set off in waterproof socks because everyone said you should. And my feet heated up. And on Tuesday, I took them off. I went on to the Dry Max socks, which I'd got, which meant I was trying to keep my feet dry by trying not to fall into bogs. Well, any bogs that there were, which weren't many. That's where my poles came in really handy. Plus, I was with Ian, Keith, and Rory, who are heavier than me. So basically, if they went across and didn't sink, I thought I'd be safe. Yeah. But that was a really good decision to swap my socks. And again, the energy levels on Monday to Tuesday weren't great because it was so cold, wasn't it? That to get food out when you take your mitts off, find the food, some of the bars had gone solid, some of the food's not great. Your mouth got all dry. Yeah, I realized going from Middleton along the valley, I realized I was losing, well, I didn't have any energy. Those styles are really hard work. So then I decided to eat more in the checkpoints and just rely on sugar in between, which was just easy to eat, like soft sweets and Scottish tablet and things like that. And which meant I didn't have to carry as much food in between either because I wasn't eating it. So
Yeah,
once I think I'd got to Langdon, I'd basically sorted out what I needed to do. My feet were okay and my energy was okay. And it was a lot, even though hike up Nick in the dark and that blizzard was just awful, horrendous. Yeah, so, but after
well,
that, I got teamed up with Ian, Keith, Elaine, Bisson, and Rory, and we were together until Bellingham. And then I think Ian was having issues with chafing, and so we decided to push on and go for a Thursday finish. Yeah. So
Ian,
yeah, overall, I mean, you can always go, oh, I should have done this, I could do that, but I don't think I'll be going back to try and do it any better because I think it would just rain. We'd just get the bogs and it would just rain and it'd be miserable. And
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was, if you can't pick the weather for the spine, but if you could, the weather we had was the weather you'd pick into the, snow and cold temperatures and everything. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing. I was thinking, if there's so much I could do better. If I'd not fallen, that'd have been better. I could have. In hindsight, I wasted a lot of time in checkpoints faffing when I could have, had, and I kind of got into a mode of trying to sleep at every checkpoint, and I realized that I didn't really need to sleep at every checkpoint. I could just, even if it was like for an hour, I could just push through and go through another night. I went through the first night absolutely fine, and got to Hawes, and had a sleep there, and that was perfect for me. But then I slept every other night because it seemed that I got to a checkpoint in. It was good getting into a checkpoint at night and feeling like you could sleep, but I don't think I needed as much sleep in hindsight as I actually got. So I think I wasted, and then obviously if you're sleeping, there's a lot of time around that you waste as well, isn't there? So did you have a plan going into the race for what you're going to do with sleep? Because you've obviously had that experience from other races. Had you sort of got that set how you were going to handle that?
yeah, I mean, so yeah, miss the first night and then have an hour each night after that. But I sacrificed. I don't like sleeping during the day, but I did do. But yeah, just for an hour. I don't think I slept in the middle of the day. I don't think I got to checkpoints in the middle of the day, but it was it was just really that I didn't want to sleep out anywhere or get to the point where I was staggering around, and so I should have slept. And actually, I slept every time I went to go to sleep, which meant I was ready to sleep. And also, what's good is that I woke up before the alarm went off, which means I've had enough sleep. Yeah, so I
So,
think yeah, the sleep was good.
mm.
Um,
Did you? I think the only time I had the whole wandering was on the last day. So I got to Burness in the morning on Friday, and I'd come down through the forest, and I was going along the forest track at the bottom of the valley, and I was wandering, sort of zigzagging across the trail. And I thought, I'm not, I can't even walk in a straight line. I need to. So I sat down on a log and sort of gathered my thoughts, and I thought, I know that I'm only like half a mile away from Burness. There's the church there, so I went into the church, and there was quite a few people in there sleeping, and I just literally just took my pack off, lay on the floor, on the cold floor, didn't get any sleeping gear out, and just thought, well, if I fall asleep, it means I need it, and if I wake up, it'll mean I'm probably cold. So I just did that and like passed out, and I probably was asleep for about 20 minutes, and then the cold woke me up, and I thought that's enough. That was enough to sort of get me. That was enough to get me to the end. And I had a similar thing in the summer where I was going over the Cheviots, and I got lost somehow, and realized it was because I was like tired and
Mm.
wandering off the route. And I like wandered back onto the route again, and thought, I can't keep doing this. I'm like wandering like a zombie. I just need to try. And so I just literally just propped myself up against the fence at the side of the trail, and I knew that there was someone about 20 minutes behind me, sort of coming. So I just thought they'll wake me up when they come by. And sure enough, she came by and was like, "Are you all right?" And it woke me up, and and that was it. I was right as rain again. So it's amazing how how just like a power nap against a fence or a power nap on a cold, wooden floor is enough to. And you kind of, when you talk to people about, I don't know if you've done this, but when you talk about things that you've done in the race that just seem normal in the spine world, like people just think that you're absolutely crazy. Like I told people that I just lay on the cold floor in a church and fell asleep for 20 minutes. They just thought it was the most random thing that I ever heard in their life. But when you talk in the context of the spine race, anything goes, doesn't it?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Greener toilets. They're nice and warm.
They are really warm, aren't the greenhead toilets? Yeah. Yeah, they've got good facilities there. What did you do about so obviously sleeping, you've got that sorted. What about kit and everything? Did you? Because I know there was some discussion after the race about people not quite having the right kit for the weather. Because I know there was that famous picture of Damo with his
Mm.
sleeping bag shoved down his coat, and Lindy was using that as an example, wasn't he, on Facebook, saying always make sure you've got enough. You may have the kit, everything on the kit list, but is it exactly what you need in the moment? How did you find your sort of kit choice, and did everything work out for you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because I think I just had a lot. Um, I wore some very thick power stretch base layers in the end after day from Hawes, I think. And over that, I had the Innovate performance jacket, and then I had a Alp kit sort of little jacket, and then even then I had the Innovate jacket over that.
Mm.
So Primaloft jacket, and then I had a big waterproof. So I don't know how people could get away with much. Well, no, I couldn't get away with a lot less. I know I carried the Innovate jacket all the way across the Cheviots because the Cheviots were surprisingly
Mm.
well warm compared to
Yeah, some of the section.
hike up. Yeah, yeah. Some of the sections, other sections, some of the lower valley sections, even we were expecting there to be more snow up there. Me and Elaine, we both took quite a lot of clothes and ended up just carrying it.
Mm.
Because yeah, it was quite, and I suppose also not only was it reasonably warm, you could move because the flagstones are fairly easy to move quite fast on, even though they were a bit icy. Yeah,
Mm.
we were moving at quite a good pace across there. So yeah, I don't think I didn't really get cold. I mean, maybe my hands every now and again, but not for very long and not like permanently, so that you needed to warm them up.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I've never been one to really scrimp on the kit like that. But I know what Linley means. If people were going out with, like he said, some people using a base layer as that mid layer, it's just bonkers, really. You sprain an ankle and you're hypothermic in minutes.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, I think when I had my fall, it was what that first cold night. Well, it wasn't the first cold night. It was one of the cold nights. They all sort of merged into one. And I knew as soon as I did it that when I stood up, I felt cold, and I thought, although it
Mm,
sort of goes against logic to start taking layers off, I knew that I'd got another. base layer in my bag that I wanted to put on. So I took my coat off. And even then, I took my outer coat off, which was like a mountain equipment, like really thick, heavy Gore-Tex jacket. And then I've got my Montane synthetic jacket under there. And there was ice. There was ice all over my Montane
Uh,
jacket, where condensation and obviously like moisture had come through and just frozen. So I quickly put another base layer on and got all these layers back on again. So I was wearing like 7 layers or something like that. And then just kept moving because I knew that I'd kind of gone into a little bit of shock, and I knew that staying still was a bad idea.
yeah,
Needed to just keep moving to just try and retain a bit of heat. Otherwise, because I think we've
yeah,
gone past the SST point, and they were probably 2 hours behind. So if I had stayed still and decided that I was gonna call the safety team out, then realistically, I was gonna get hypothermic. I know I would have got hypothermic. So because I know what I'm like.
yeah,
Just general, if I get cold and wet and then I stop running, if I don't get warm quick, then I start shivering and starting to go hypothermic. So
yeah.
I think
Yeah, in
that was
fact, there was one section just, it was the second lot of toilets, and we were just left there along that Greenhead section, before Adrian's Wall, really.
mm,
And Ian just stopped and leant over his poles, and all of a sudden, I just got this really weird shiver down my arms, and I just wanted to curl up, which is not what I usually want to do. If I, it didn't feel like I was cold, but it just, and I bent over as well, and I remember Elaine going, "Not you as well." She was like, "Come on, keep going." I think it was just that we'd stopped at the toilets to fill water up, and not, yeah, like you say, we just needed to get out of the toilets and keep going rather than stopping. So
mm,
yeah, we carried on going, but it was really weird. That, don't think I've ever had that weird cold arms, but yeah, it was just weird cold arms from inside the arms. It was an odd
mm,
feeling, not very pleasant,
yeah.
but it
So
went
that must
away as soon as we were moving. Yeah,
so that was must have been that night when I was coming from Langdon Beck, and that seemed to be the coldest place on earth, Langdon Beck, when we got to there. I was with another couple of runners, and we got into there, and he was saying, the guy came out to meet us, and he was saying it's extremely cold. It's like well, they did say, didn't they, with the wind chill, it was like -20 or something. I don't know,
yeah,
but that night, sort of, I had to sleep there and then set off again. And that bit where you go, so the obviously cut out Cauldron Snout and everything, and you go up that road. So were you that far ahead? Did you go up Cauldron Snout, or was it already done?
no, no, I didn't know anyone had been up there actually, but no, I
Yeah,
had to go around by that horrible road.
yes, that road. So that
I'm
going up
not
that,
sure what would have. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was probably a
Cauldron
while. I
snout.
think, yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was a wise call once it to change the route. So even in the summer, when I went on that section to Cauldron Snout, I was absolutely cursing because the trail just disappears by the river, and then it's all just boulders all by the side of the river, and they were all slimy in the summer, so they would have been like a death trap in the cold anyway. And then after that, then you've got Cauldron Snout, which was obviously like enough of the climb that you've got to put your poles away and use 4 points of contact just be able to get up it in the summer. So I could imagine what that would have been
Mm.
like in the
And
winter.
looking at how it was, it didn't add any distance. It didn't seem on the map, but
Mm.
it felt a long way.
Yeah, but it's I think I'd rather that than risk going up Cauldron Snout.
Yeah.
I had that experience in the summer, so I'm not that worried about missing it. But it was that section going up that road that I felt the coldest because it just felt like the cold is just trying to penetrate all the layers that you've got. It felt, even, with goggles on and your face like with a buff up and everything, it still felt like everything was trying to get in at you, the cold. But then, so you had blizzards when you went over High Cup Nick, then you had all the snow.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So I set off from Langdon, I mean, there was snow, there was quite a bit of snow on that road, a few little drifts. Um, and I expected when I dropped off the track eventually onto that valley, I thought it would be sheltered, but it wasn't. It was quite deep.
Mm,
And I don't know when the person before me had set off up there, but there was no footprints or anything in the snow to follow. I could see sometimes a bit of disturbance where somebody had been. But yeah, I just floundered around all the way up the valley. I hid behind that bridge that goes over the
Yeah.
river to put some more layers on and eat some food because I knew I wouldn't be able to eat higher up because it was getting dark as well. So yeah, that was the last time I ate until I sort of got to Dufton because I was navigating with a head torch in one hand and the GPS in the other, and the poles just sort of flapping about because it was dark and claggy and snowing and no footprints, no path, no nothing to follow. So, and I've been up there on a recce, and I knew, you get up to the plateau, and then there's that path down to the like river, stream, boggy crossing.
Mm.
But then trying to find that contouring path was just impossible. I stayed on the top rather than on the hillside.
Mm.
And then even the descending path seemed to be going uphill most of the time. Like they do when you're desperate to descend and you
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Just what it
I
to
don't
be.
I don't remember this. It's going uphill again.
Yeah, it's funny that how because I'd been obviously been over that section in the summer, and it was this time it just seemed completely different. That section did. The only bit I remember was the bit dropping down to the river or stream where you cross over that bridge that you stopped at. That's the only bit that felt familiar out of that whole section. I think because even though it was clear when I went, so it obviously snowed, all that snow that you'd had when you'd gone through. But when I went through, it was sort of the early hours of the morning, and as I got to hike up Nick, the sun was starting to come up. So I got some great
Mm,
photos of hike up Nick, and it was completely calm and no wind or anything. It was super, super cold, and there was a lot of snow, but I could see there was definitely tracks that I was following, but there was also tracks that sort of went off in different directions as well. Obviously, where people had sort of been wandering in the night, I'd imagine. Um, but I had one for a first for me. I had a hallucination of a dog. So I know you're a big dog person, aren't you? But I saw in the distance what I thought was my beloved dog that died many years ago, which was a husky. And I was convinced that I could see my old dog Inca sat at the side of the trail waiting for me to get to her so I could give her a stroke. Sat there with her pointy ears and everything. And I was convinced that it was her right up until probably only like a couple of meters away when I realized it was just one of those stone, that looks
mm.
one of those stone mile markers at the side of the trail. It was just one of those. So that was a new hallucination for me. What do you see if you when you have hallucinations? Because did you do you see? Because I remember in the summer race, I remember seeing both of the cats that we own at different points, hallucinating them. Do you see your many dogs that you've had?
No, I sort of I can sort of imagine people usually with dogs, but it's usually just in the walls.
Mm.
And yeah, just like green and brown. Oh, the funniest one was somewhere where there was some reservoirs, and there were those great big boys that you have, the red ones with the two. But I say, oh yeah, there's a person. And I was like, really? That person's got no head. You've got the body and the two. It's a skinny fat person with no head. I don't think so. So it's not really, yeah, they're not hallucinations. They're just sort of like, I think I just amuse my own brain with them,
Yeah.
keeping myself awake, going, oh, does that looks like a person? That looks like a person and a dog.
With me, it's in the summer. I saw going through Kilda Forest, that section before Burness. I saw lots of black bears stood on their hind legs, all it was just the trees, like that
Yeah.
that were falling down, or because a lot of the trees had fallen down, like with the wind, and the bottom, like the roots are all exposed, so you got this big brown sort of shape. And I was convinced that these were bears in the distance. But this year I had a new one, which was knights in shining armor. So it was a row of I don't know if it was a row of trees or if it was a stone wall, but I was convinced there was a row of knights in shining armor with big swords and stuff stood at the side of the trail. And then this week I remembered one that I'd forgotten about, which was on that same section. I saw a school trip. So a load of kids were walking up the trail towards me with like a teacher leading them. And all these little kids were all going on, obviously going on the geography like trip for the
Yeah.
day, the forest. And for a few moments, I was convinced that there was, and then as the time went on, I was thinking, why would a school teacher bring a load of kids up to the top of the forest at like 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday? But they seem
Yeah.
real, don't they? When you see them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, well, my logic kicks in. I think it's like,
Yeah. Well,
um,
I'm quite a logical person, but I think I probably enjoy them too much, and I think
yeah.
I just let them roll and go with them. I think that's probably what the problem is.
Yeah.
So how did you find that last section then? Because I was, been talking to people about this part of the race, and it was the same when I did the summer race. That last section is a big section, isn't it? From Bellingham to the finish. It's like on paper, it's like 41 miles into. I know it's probably more than that. But once you've done that section to Burness, then you
Yeah.
break it up, don't you? How did you sort of did you do that in your mind? Sort of, it's only 9 miles to hut one, another 10 miles to hut two, and then 7 to the finish. Is that how you sort of did you logically break it up?
Uh, no, I suppose not. I mean, we were heading to Hut One, um, but I think we just had the finish in our sights because, and we weren't going to stop, but yeah, they offered us tea, both of them, so we couldn't. We had to stop. It was quite nice, just sitting in there with a nice hot tea, not hot sweet tea. So yeah, I think yeah. So we just stopped for about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes in each one, and then pushed on because I think also it was getting dark and we want, well, it wasn't getting dark when we first at Hut One. Oh no, it was actually. We just put our head torches on at Hut One. So, but we wanted to finish on Thursday. It sort of became a bit of an obsession, a bit of a thing that we were doing. So, um,
In before midnight.
yeah, it didn't seem, it seemed quite long to Hut One, but it seemed long, a lot longer between Hut One and Hut Two, or even the top, rather than, as soon as you start descending, Hut Two's not far away, but yeah, there's a section that the flags just go on and on and on. There's
Yeah,
no sort of like, they don't turn left or right, they don't do
yeah.
anything.
Keep
They
going, so
just
you keep
go
going.
on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think for me, that was the section in the summer that dragged the most. That section in between hut one and hut two, and that's where I went off course and had to have a little sleep. It just seemed to
Mm.
go on forever and ever and ever, and then hut two appears. Well, you know that it's there, don't you? You know that it's like just down the hill, and I'd not noticed with the winter race how they'd taped off that ravine, hadn't they, at the side of,
Yeah.
because I'd not even noticed that in the summer that there was a big sort of big, very steep drop down that side. And you kind of, I don't know what it was like when you were there, but when I dropped off that hill and dropped down, the wind really picked up, and it was like, so they'd said it was like 70-mile-an-hour gusts there. So
Uh,
this actually came out to us and more or less walked us in to make sure it didn't get blown off down the ravine. Yeah, it was a bit dicey with the wind. But like you, I'd once I knew I was on the Cheviot, it's almost like you can taste the finish, can't you? So you don't really want to,
yeah.
even though you don't want to sort of make light of the distance and sort of put it down to just, oh, it's only 25 miles. On any given day, you wouldn't even think twice about it, would you? Just be like, yeah, that's a nice long trail run, that's fine. But everything takes longer. I got to hut two and had a coffee there, and I had phone signal. I don't know how I had phone signal,
Yeah.
but I text my wife and said, "Oh, it's only 7 miles to the finish," even though I knew how long it would take. Really, I texted her and said, "I'll probably be down in an hour and a half," and it took me like 3 hours to get down that last section because my feet were just, by that point, the blisters that I did have weren't very happy with that descent.
No.
What were you sort of feeling coming down that last section then?
Well, we set off quite merrily, me and Elaine. Yeah, up that hill, Sherlock or whatever it's called, and
Yeah.
then down. And then I don't know, I'd reckoned it, but I completely blanked it until about halfway down when I suddenly went. And Elaine had done it before the race before, and she was the same. She was like, "Yeah, we just go down here and we hit the road." No, you don't. You go down the grassy bit, and then you go across the river, and then you go through that horrible sheep poached field that actually had sheep in it when I wrecked it. Past the Tunnocks wagon. I said to Elaine, I don't know how I managed to forget we have to go past the Tunnocks wagon um, along the road. And then I was like, it was dawning on me. I was like, and there's a hill, isn't there? And she's like, is there? And I was like, I think there's a hill. I think past the Tunnocks wagon, I think we go up a hill. And yeah, as we were going along that road, I was thinking, yeah, we turn left and we go up a hill. And then it just, and even when we saw the lights, there's some really bright lights. I think there's a factory or
Yeah,
something in the distance.
yeah.
And
You
she's
think
like,
that's
is
it?
that where we're
Yeah.
going? And I'm like, no, we're definitely not going that far. We're definitely only going just down there. I said it was Christmas when I reckoned it. You could see the Christmas tree on the green, so I sort of knew where the pub was. Yeah, but she didn't
Yeah.
believe me till we
That
hit the houses.
that last hill is like the final insult, isn't it? Because it's not really particularly a big hill, is it?
Nah,
It's just a tarmac incline that you just thought that you'd completely done with all the hills by that point, don't you? And then you've got to slog up that hill, and then you think, oh, it's just around the corner, but it's not. It's around the corner and around another bend, and then you see
yeah,
the lights, don't you? It's yeah. Did you manage to? Were you running at this point? Are you jogging? Are you running?
we.
Fast biking? What were you?
I think we were far. We'd set off running, and then uh, we ran till we crossed the sort of stream to about the Tunnocks wagon, and then we walked really along the road. We were both quite tired by then because we hadn't had any sleep, and obviously, yeah, we hadn't had any sleep into Thursday night. So, um, yeah, it was quite a job staying awake. And then we ran the last little bit into the village. Um,
You've got
but
to do
yeah,
that,
it was
haven't you?
really good. Yeah.
You've got to run the last bit. Who did you have waiting for you?
Um, yeah, my husband Steve. And I don't know. Yeah, there was quite a few people around. Elaine's husband was there. So yeah,
Um,
he said he'd only
so
just
all the
made it. He said I'd speeded up in the last day, which we had, I think.
I think once you sort of smell the finish and you know that you're on the Cheviets, you kind of everything sort of goes into overdrive, doesn't it? And you just laser focused on getting to that finish line. So it's sort of on reflection then for you then, is there anything that you would sort of that would have done differently now, just thinking about the way that you sort of paced it, or anything that you would have, if you did go back at any point in the future, that you would do consciously do differently?
I think I would. Well, just definitely the food. I think take take less and make more use of the checkpoint food because the food at the checkpoints is really good.
Mm.
Um, and also, I mean, I had expedition foods and I made three of them up, but I probably should have made them up more often. But maybe I'd have got sick of them if I'd tried that. And I think if the conditions were the same, I should have just set off in my dry match socks and not gone with the waterproof ones because my feet don't like getting hot. And I didn't know this before, but my feet must sweat quite a bit because the inside of the waterproof socks was damp. Um,
Mm.
and I'd seen this in on recce's, but it's that I can understand that you shouldn't get your feet wet for a whole week. It's not going to be great, but yeah, I think I would just go in my own instincts and try, or do I should have changed them at Hebden or something like that. When I'd realised the ground was so frozen
Yeah,
because that was
yeah.
the thing. There wasn't really any bogs. I don't think I ever fell through the bogs. Um,
Mm. And no, I did the same thing. I started in waterproof socks, like not knowing what the ground was going to be like, and then changed into normal socks. And then I had a moment where I regretted not having waterproof socks on. I found the only bit of unfrozen bog going that last section just before you get to Hornistead Farm, where you drop off the bit in between
Oh,
Hornistead Farm and the and dropping off the back.
yeah,
Or there was like a section where I just wasn't concentrated, and I just put my foot down, and literally my whole leg went down to like above my knee in a bit of bog, and I thought, if only I had waterproof socks on. But I knew that I was only sort of, yeah, because
yeah,
from that only a couple of miles from Hornistead Farm, and then what is it, like 6 miles to Bellingham anyway, so it didn't really. I'm glad that it was like towards the end of the section and not at the start of
yeah,
the section.
yeah, yeah. Um,
So
so
there's
yeah, I
nothing
think that.
else you would have done. So
No,
nutrition, you changed
yeah,
that for the
yeah, no, I think it was
and the
all
kit.
good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So are you going to go back?
no, I don't think so. No.
My wife has got a video of me sat with a cup of tea in the lounge bit outside of at the Border Hotel, just in my dry robe, all nice and warm, drinking a cup of tea at the end. And then she got me on video and asked me whether I was going to do the race again, and I said no. There's no need to do it again. I've done it now. There's no need to do it. And she's like, right, I've got you on video. That's evidence. She will hold it against me, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been a lot of commitment. Um,
Yeah, it
and
is, isn't it? Mm,
a
very much.
great thing to do, but I don't think I'm like Ian Keith and I'll just keep going back. But yeah, yeah.
He loves
It
it.
was wonderful. It was great being with him because you realize just what a star he is on it. Everybody
Mm.
just welcomes him along and he has great banter with everybody. And um, yeah, no, we
He's
had a
like
good little,
he's like king of the Spine family, isn't he?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like the patriarch of the Spine family.
yeah.
He's a lovely guy. Yeah, he really is a lovely guy. Um, so forgetting the Spine race, then what else have you got planned? Have you got anything planned for the rest of this year?
Well, I'm organising a race in April up here in Galloway Hills called the Bruce's Crown.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's next.
Is there still
Um,
places available on that, or is it full?
yeah, no, it's not full because we only
Bruce,
opened up entries recently. It's a team event of four,
yeah.
46 miles and about three 3,500 meters of climb navigation. Um, yeah, I'm doing it in conjunction with Galloway Mountain Rescue. So I was going to try and put it on my own, and I got to the stage where I was thinking I can't do this on my own, and I'd already approached them, and they came back and said, "Yeah, we're interested." And so yeah, as a team event, a team, uh, organization, it's great now. So yeah, it's going to happen. It's quite
So
exciting.
that's gonna take all your focus up then over the next few
Yeah,
months.
that's yeah, 4th of April, and then I don't know really into the summer. Um, few
No,
Scottish races. I think like last year, do the Scottish Classics and
mm,
yeah.
have an easy rest of the year. Relax after
No,
this.
something will come along. I know.
Yeah, no. Someone asked me this week. It was like, well, what's your next race? And I was like, I haven't got any. I have got something planned, but it's so I've got a media pass to go to UTMB in at the end of the summer, and I get to do. They have one of the races is like their media race that you can the MCC, I think it is.
Mm,
It's right at the start of the week, and it's only like 25 miles or something. It's like the last quarter of a UTMB. So basically, that's the only thing I've got planned for the rest of the year. And at the minute, I can't. I don't feel like I can. I don't know whether I feel like. I suppose I could. I need to do something in between. Probably something midsummer. Try and get my legs moving again. But I'm looking forward to. My other obsession is paddleboarding. So in the summer, I do a lot of paddleboarding. So I'm looking forward to paddleboarding season
yeah.
start. a bit of that instead of running all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I am looking. I've already been back on the hills, only small ones in Galloway, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting up some big hills and keep climbing for an hour or so. So I really miss that with all that flat spine training. I
Mm.
designed some routes around here on forest tracks that I can now ditch.
Yeah, you never have to do that again. Get back to the hills. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like the all of the hills on the spine are all my favorite bits of the race. I don't know about you. I just
Mm,
love those sections because it's just something different, isn't it? And you feel like you can sort of get stuck into it and make a real meal of.
yeah. So I think if I went back, I might just do the northern one, the best sort of half of it.
Yes. Yeah, that's got all the yeah, that's got all the all the best scenery, I think, pretty much. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks, Nicky. Appreciate you coming on. And I mean, what I should have done is what I normally do with guests is sort of ask them their back history and everything about how they got into running and everything. But we sort of everybody knows who you are now, and even if they haven't sort of listened to you on my podcast, they know you run in history and that you're running royalty basically by this point, aren't you? So appreciate you coming on
Thank
and
you.
your spine experience, and I look forward to catching up with you in the future at some point.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, Nicky. Cheers.
Okay. Yeah.